Hello and welcome to another edition of For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. My guest today is Eric St. Peter. He is in public relations for the Rhode Island Blood Center, and it's his first time on the show, so first of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Rhode Island Blood Center. It sounds self-explanatory, but there is a lot to talk about. Tell us about it.
Well, I mean, we're an organization that's been around for 36 years now. I mean, we supply all the blood to all the hospitals in Rhode Island, so if somebody is hurt, if somebody has cancer, if somebody needs a blood product, it comes from our donors, so that's something we're really proud about.
Now, where's your physical location?
We have our main office is in Providence, but we actually have 6 donor centers all over the state of Rhode Island.
And that's so that people can get to you quicker and you can get to the hospitals quicker, right?
Absolutely.
It's strategically designed that way.
Absolutely. I mean, we serve as the hospitals. That's our charter. Our charter is to supply a safe and adequate blood supply to the hospitals of Rhode Island, and I think we do a good job of that, and that's because of the donors.
The way that it's set up for you in Rhode Island, is it, because Rhode Island is a small state, the smallest, is that advantageous for you to have it set up that way? If you were in a larger state, would things have to be different? Would you have to be involved with you would have to be bigger or be involved with another organization maybe?
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to have distribution centers and things like that, but as it is now, all the donations throughout the entire day come to our center in Providence. They're processed, they're tested, and then they go out from there to the hospitals.
So tell me about the state of the blood these days as far as people's willingness to donate.
Well, we do pretty well in the state of Rhode Island. Generally, nationwide, it's about 5% of people do donate. In Rhode Island, it's about 9%.
So you're above the average.
So we're above the average, yeah. We have a small state. Things are convenient. I mean, you're never too far away from either a blood center, a donation center, or a drive that we go out to companies or in your area to come out and donate. So we try to make it easy for people.
So the drives, I would imagine, it has to happen all year round because people need blood, but obviously it's easier in the summer. Do you have more events going on in the summer?
I'll tell you, we do have more events going on this summer, but it's actually harder in the summer.
Really?
Yeah, we lose, 16% of all the blood that we collect throughout the entire state is high schools and colleges, believe it or not. So when you lose high schools and colleges when they're not in session,
well, that's a good point.
You have to make up those pints somewhere, so you run more events in the summertime, more smaller events.
You got the young people, they're eager and gung-ho and want to save the world, and might as well utilize that good-natured ability for them to give blood because you need it.
Well, absolutely. I mean, you're not saving the world, but you're saving somebody's world. I mean, when you donate a pint of blood, you're saving 3 people's lives. I mean, we're going to talk to somebody later on that's life was literally saved by blood donors, and that's a real statement. I mean, that's not something that's a catchphrase or anything like that. That's something that is absolutely true. When you give a pint of blood, you save 3 people's lives.
Why are people hesitant about it? What are their fears?
I think mostly it's, the fear of the unknown. People, I always tell people, people say, I'm afraid of needles. Well, nobody likes needles. I mean, nobody wakes up in the morning and says, boy, I hope somebody's sticking me with a needle today. But it's a little pinch, it's a little discomfort. The needle's really only in your arm for 5 to 7 minutes. People think it's longer than that.
Does it have to go into your vein to actually get the blood?
It goes into a vein, generally a vein in the crook of your arm.
Right.
They find it good. We have good phlebotomists. It doesn't hurt. I do it all the time myself. And if it's a little bit of discomfort for you, understand that what you're doing is you're saving these people's lives, and there's no replacement for blood. If somebody needs blood, it has to come from another human donor. That's why donors are so important.
And so a few minutes of it being a little irritating, even if it's that. All you have to do is think about what you're doing for somebody, and the pain means nothing.
Yeah, really.
And it's only, how long does it last?
I mean, basically, the whole process is under an hour, about 45 minutes. So you come in, you get your paperwork filled out, we get some information from you. You do a little mini physical, we just check your blood pressure, check your iron, make sure you're feeling well and healthy that day. Then the needle goes in 5 to 7 minutes. The more well hydrated you are, the quicker it actually goes. So drink a lot of water beforehand. And then afterwards, it's juice and cookies, and you're on your way.
That's announced, I think. People don't talk about that. Get some cookies, get some juice after, And obviously that's to get some sugar back in you? Or?
Well, we want you to just kind of make sure that, you are taking a pint of blood from somebody's body, so their blood pressure lowers a little bit. It just makes sense, that it would happen.
Obviously, try not to do anything too strenuous after you give blood, too. That's important, right?
Yeah, they ask you to refrain from a strenuous physical activity for 24 hours.
So don't go to the gym after.
And you don't need to go to the gym because if you give a pint of blood, you already lost a pound anyway.
That's a good point, yeah.
The blood weighs about a pound, so you can skip the gym that day.
Can you drive after?
You can drive afterwards. afterwards, yeah, we just have you sit to just make sure that you are feeling good.
Right,
You know,
no
sometimes,
disorientation.
Yeah, sometimes people will have a little bit of lightheadedness afterwards. It depends on the person. Depends on if you've eaten enough that day or hydrated well enough that day. So we always just say, make sure you don't skip a meal and make sure you drink a lot of water before you come in, and you should be fine.
So that's a couple of things, but there is some preparation that you can do yourself the favor and also get yourself in and out if you do a little preparation knowing that you have an appointment to give blood. What are some other things that they can do to prepare for it?
Well, I mean, we want to make sure that your hematocrit level, which has to do with your iron, is high enough to donate. So if you're a vegetarian, make sure you eat leafy vegetables. You know, greener the better than the first couple days beforehand or the day before.
So vegetarians have a lower iron level?
Maybe because they don't eat red meat is the best source of iron, really. So I mean, if you eat red meat, have a steak the night before. Treat yourself before you're going to go and donate. If you don't, then green leafy vegetables, the greener the better. Your kales, your spinach, broccoli, things like that. That'll get your iron level up. Or just take an over-the-counter iron pill. Make sure your iron's high. Then you'll have no problem being able to donate. Other than that, it's just making sure you're hydrated. If we don't do anything else, make sure that you have a good amount of hydrating liquid. So
why is that important?
Because if you're dehydrated, then you're going to feel the effects of the blood loss more.
Okay.
And so sometimes people will come in and they'll say, well, I drank 4 cups of coffee this morning. Well, that actually dehydrates you.
Yeah,
So,
caffeine, right?
Yeah, caffeine.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure juice, milk, water, things like that.
Probably not a good idea to drink alcohol before you come in, too.
No, not going to drink alcohol. And actually, if you have to be careful afterwards, too, because blood alcohol content, if you think of it, you have less blood in your system, so there's less blood to affect your blood alcohol content. So they tell you to be careful and have a meal before you drink.
True or false? It is actually healthy for the human body to give blood because then your body regenerates it, and it's actually like sort of an oil change, so to speak.
It is, yeah, you're absolutely right. So, I mean, it's a healthy thing. A lot of studies have found out that your blood is constantly recycling itself anyway. Your red cells are lasting about 35 days in your body, so they regenerate and they're dispelled, and then they come back again through your bone marrow. So, giving it a little kickstart is not a bad thing for you. I mean, it cleans out your system a little bit.
So, I mean, that's a reason to, if you want to be healthy, give blood every once in a while.
Yeah.
Now, how often is a good amount? Now, obviously, not by your needs, but like the human body, how often is healthy and how often should you?
Well, you could only donate once every 56 days.
Okay.
So that's a regular pint of blood.
So let's say 2 months.
2 months,
right?
yeah, that's 2 months.
Right.
So if you donate a whole pint of blood, it's 2 months. We have other kinds of procedures you can do, like platelets. You can donate just platelets. You can do that every couple of weeks. Or you can donate just double the amount of red cells, but just your red cells, and then you have to wait double the amount of time, so you have to wait 4 months.
How do you do that when you're extracting it? Is it the same process when you do that?
It's the same process. It's on a machine. It's called an apheresis machine. So what you do is you get hooked up to the machine. It takes your blood into this machine, filters out just the red cells, and then returns the rest of the plasma and platelets back to you.
Oh, okay. So that's not even leaving. I mean, it's going back into your body.
Going back into your body. So we're just taking double the amount of red cells, so we call it a double red cell.
And then your body will immediately start regenerating those.
Yep.
Now, is there a need for just that as opposed to just the blood in general as well?
Well, there's a need for every type of blood in general. People kind of say, well, you don't really need my type of blood. We need everybody's type of blood, but there are certain types of blood that are used for different kinds of things. Like, for instance, O negative is a universal donor. So no matter what, if you get hurt, you can take an O negative pint of blood.
Even if that wasn't your blood?
Even if that wasn't your blood
Interesting.
type. Yeah. So they use it in emergency rooms.
Now, if that happens, let's say you get a blood transfusion with O negative and that's not what does your body do? Does it start regenerating its own regular type?
Yes.
And those can mix and...
Yeah, they can mix.
I'm making it sound like it's a cocktail drink or something.
No, I mean, it's just there are certain antigens and different antibodies in it that your body doesn't recognize as not being your blood type because they're absent in O's. So in that way, anybody can take it in, and if you're an O positive, you can take any blood type into you, and your body won't reject it.
What's the rarest that's needed?
AB positive.
AB positive.
AB positive is pretty rare. I think only about 3% of people, don't quote me, but I think it's about 3% of people have AB positive blood type. So they're looking for, if they get in an accident, O negative or AB positive. But we're lucky. We don't have any shortages. If you need any type of blood in the state of Rhode Island, we have it for you, and it's because of the donors who come in and donate regularly.
And if you were in a super jam, how low do they get? I mean, are you ever at critical levels where you need to really get the word out?
We've had some tough times. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, during the blizzards that we had, the consecutive blizzards in February, we were getting there.
It was an ice age. I'm surprised
Yeah.
that the winter months were better. I know you talk about the schools and everything, but God, you couldn't even get out of your house at that point.
And that's when it becomes an issue. That's when we have to look at it, and that's when we have to talk to people in the media and say, you know, this would be a good time for you to come down. But we don't have shortages. You know, we're pretty lucky in the state.
It may get low, but
we might get low, but we don't really have shortages.
And if you do get to that point, can you reach out further out, maybe other states if you need to?
Yeah, there is a network. You know, there is a network of blood suppliers that you can get blood from other states if that's necessary. So our main concern is making sure that everybody who needs it has it, and we cross our fingers, we're able to do that.
Is there ever a point where you have? There's probably never a point where you have enough, and you can kind of maybe ship some off somewhere else it's more needed. It's never that.
Well, we always make sure that we have other hospitals that we serve that are outside of Rhode Island, in Massachusetts and in Connecticut, and different places around New England. But you know, we have our charter is to make sure that we supply a safe and adequate blood supply to the hospitals of Rhode Island. They're our primary supplier.
As medical technology advances and things are going on in the hospitals and these days, is there even more of a need for blood, or maybe is it the lives that people are living? Is there more of a need for blood these days?
Well, you'll see different things in culture kind of change the different blood usage. I mean, when economy is low, there's less elective surgery, so there's less blood, being used. But there's always accidents, and like it or not, just like somebody we're going to be talking to coming up, cancer is a big use of blood. I mean, if you have cancer, you need to use a lot of blood, as we'll hear about. So, and that's not something that's going away, sadly.
Yeah.
So, there are always patients in need. There is never a time that it is, well, I'll wait next month to donate blood. They need it more. If you can donate blood via the safe.
Does blood expire? Is there an expiration date on it?
There is. I mean, what we do is we take that whole pint of blood and we split it into three parts. We split it into red cells, platelets, and plasma, and they each have a different shelf life. So our red cells are about 35 days, platelets are about 5 days, and 3 of which are testing. So platelets are tough. You know, we want to make sure we get those platelets out and used within 2 days. And then the plasma we take from that pint, that can be frozen for up to a year. So there are different shelf life for different part of your blood.
Is there anything that they can do artificially to create plasma or anything like that? It's just really still all from the human body, right?
Yeah, it's really still off from the human body. So if somebody needs blood, they need it from another person that's been willing enough to have, that little bit of discomfort or whatever it is to be able to save 3 people's lives.
We talked about what you need to do to prepare and to help yourself get through the process if you are able to give blood. But as it turns out, there are people who are not able to give blood for various reasons. Mm-hmm. What are some of those reasons?
I mean, actually, it's less than you would think. I mean, over 60% of the people in the country can donate blood. Sometimes there are problems. If you have a heart problem, we want to be careful about that. If your iron is too low that day, we don't want to take blood out of you that way. Different risks for malaria. If you've gone to a malarial risk area like South Africa, or like Africa in general, South America, then you would be deferred for only a year for certain things.
If you're just getting over the flu or anything like that,
we want you to be feeling good.
Yeah.
We definitely don't want you to donate even if you have a cold, because those people, you think about who's getting it. They're immunocompromised a lot of times. They're not having a great time in their life.
Yeah, they don't need the
lots
the
of times
virus.
they might not be able to survive it.
Yeah.
In the case of cancer patients.
How about diabetics? Are they unable to give?
No, they're absolutely able to donate.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely able to donate. There are very few things that make you not able to donate.
No excuses, right?
No excuses. And if you have any questions, you can absolutely go to the website. ribc.org is our website. You can call us at 401-354-8385 and just talk to one of our scheduling people from the scheduling department that we have, and they'll set you up a time to donate blood and answer all your questions.
Sounds good. Eric St. Peter, Public Relations for the Rhode Island Blood Center. We learned a lot. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you very much.
We'll take a short break and come right back. I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Stay with us. Welcome back to For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. In the last segment we learned all about giving blood. And now we will have a blood recipient on because Mike Gamma, I think it's important. Did I say your last name right?
You certainly did.
I think it's important for people to hear a story of a person because you can quote as many numbers and you can quote statistics, but that doesn't really tug at the heartstrings like you telling your story on the air. So first of all, thank you for being on today.
My pleasure.
And thank you for being willing to tell your story. Where would you like to start?
Well, I'll start with the fact that I have this really unique relationship with the Blood Center. I was a police officer for about 15 years. And when I was promoted into prosecution, I got a call from someone from the Blood Center asking me to do a drive. After about 15 minutes of listening to a very convincing employee, I agreed. And it wasn't until I hung up that I realized that I was in trouble because you guys had touched on this before. Some of the reasons why people don't donate was that fear of needles. Well, as a police officer, I always consider myself pretty brave. I'll even kill a spider with my bare hands. But there was something about donating blood and getting stuck voluntarily. So I tended to avoid them. So whenever the time came for our first blood drive, I was pretty nervous. But I got on the bus anyway, and I donated. And, like Eric said, it's only a few minutes that you have to deal with it. And before I even knew what was going on, they were sticking Fig Newtons and orange and apple juice in my face. Yeah, no doubt. And they were ushering me right off the bus, and
it was over.
You bet. It was unbelievable. So, like right from that point, I was sold because I realized that it wasn't that big a deal. But I still didn't really have an appreciation for that whole statement that they throw out. It's you saved 3 lives with this pint of blood. And I've seen hundreds of accidents where the poor people ended up in the hospital, but I never really saw the other side of it. In the end of 2010, I decided to retire. At the time, I was a very healthy 40-year-old.
So it wasn't for medical reasons that you retired?
Nope. I decided to jump into the private sector, make some real money. So at the time, I was happily married, 3 teenage kids. For some reason, they still thought that was kind of cool. So, my life wasn't for everybody, but for me, it was like a dream come true. And out of the blue, from a random blood test, I found out that I had acute myeloid leukemia. It's a blood cancer. It's not preventable. Never knew anything about blood cancers. But the very next day, I was up at Rhode Island Hospital for my first stay. It was 51 days. And the way that they treat that is they hit you with enough chemotherapy drugs to absolutely wipe out your entire blood system because your blood system is creating cancer cells, right? And about 3 weeks into it, I was in critical condition, and I learned firsthand, whether I wanted to or not, the validity of the statement that these pints save lives, because they waited until I was within a couple of hours of dying. So they would take my blood counts every 4 hours, 24 hours a day around the clock. And then they would wait until I was at a very critical level before they would offer me either a red blood cell transfusion or a platelet transfusion. So I would look forward to these things because I knew if I didn't get them, I was a goner. Over the course of my treatments in the next 6 months, I had dozens of these transfusions. So when you look at it, my life was saved dozens of times by anonymous donors who actually overcame their fears of being pricked by a needle or their time constraints or whatever, and actually got on the bus and donated. And it's pretty amazing when you think about it, because now they saved Mike Gamma's life, and I'm certainly very grateful for it, right? But it goes way beyond that. Those donors prevented my wife from being a widow at age 34. They prevented my kids from losing their dad as teenagers. I was able to see my kids graduate from high school. Amazing things that I never would have been able to see had it not been for those people who actually got on the bus and donated.
And that random blood test you took one day, if you didn't do that day, I mean, at the very least, you would have been delayed in knowing right?
So with the type of cancer I had, no, I probably would have ended up dying. It kills patients in about 16 weeks. So I was very fortunate that they did find it, and then very fortunate that I had enough people caring for me to get me through the process.
Is it a hereditary thing?
You know what's funny? It's not. Blood cancers can't be prevented. They're not hereditary. It has to do with your genetic makeup, and they're still not sure why it happens. So the only way through it for a patient who's diagnosed with a blood cancer is either a cure or successful treatment. And in my case, I received successful treatment. And a big part of that was medical science. But a bigger part of that was actually donations from people, you know, who gave.
And to do that, you need to be able to get the word out, which is what you guys are doing today. Now, are you done with treatments? Do you need to get blood transfusions every so often, or are you all set?
Fortunately, no, but it's not a no forever.
Right.
So I had a stem cell transplant, and as long as the stem cell transplant works, I won't need blood
That's where
products.
great progress is being made, isn't it? You know,
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And you know, that's another case, stem cell transplant, where my life was not saved through medical science. It was saved by a donor who had never met me and who donated stem cells for me.
you can have all the science you want, but you know, you need people to participate. You know, and you need, and they have to participate literally with their blood, right?
Yeah, you know, with how far medical technology has come, we tend to use that as a crutch. But really, what it boils down to is people like you and me to save lives.
People. What's your life like now? Are you able to be active? I mean, can you go for a run, or
Yes and no.
or do you even want to? Because I don't. But
Oh,
whatever.
well, you know, it's fine. I do run to the refrigerator. But so I kind of changed the whole course of my life. I no longer jumped into the private sector to make the real money. Now I volunteer for the Blood Center because they're such an amazing organization.
You appreciate life more now, don't you?
Oh, you bet.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, I volunteer for the Leukemia Lymphoma Society. That would make sense. And for the Blood Center, every chance I get.
How about your family? How have they taken it? How did they take it when you were first diagnosed, and how did they get through it with you?
Wow. So when I was first diagnosed, it was a Saturday evening when I got the call. And the kids and I dealt with it the way gammas do. We huddled together on the couch and kind of cried, you know, got through it. And I basically gave them the little speech, hey, with your love and my stubbornness, this is a hurdle that we'll get through. And I still, you know, I remember that night like it was yesterday, but I still didn't have that appreciation for these unnamed donors who are out there. And I know I've hit on this probably a dozen times already in this interview, but they're vital. Those donors were the last step between me and certain death. And that's a pretty impactful statement, and I can make that with full confidence.
And you know, always when a person has a tendency to get involved with it, really any organization, when it touches them personally, or maybe somebody close to them, family member or a close friend, you really take a vested interest. You learn everything you can about what's going on, you know, with whether progress is being made or what people can do, whether it be volunteer, give blood. I would imagine you're looking for volunteers as often as possible as well, right? Not just blood donors.
Absolutely. For the Blood Center, what I usually end up doing is I'll speak with a group of people prior to a blood drive to try and put a face to that bag of blood that they're donating. And it usually helps. And it makes me feel amazing because if I can affect a couple of more people to actually get on the bus and donate, there's that many more lives that are saved because of it.
So we're going to put the website up one more time, and I want you to look into the camera and just give one last, tell the people why giving blood is so important. One reason is sitting right next to me here. Your life is saved because of that, but so many more could be saved too. Right?
Oh, you're absolutely right. I'd ask everybody, if you're able to give blood, get on that bus, because the few minutes of discomfort that you may feel, personally I didn't, but if you do feel a few minutes of discomfort, think about the fact that you're actually saving 3 lives. And what would you do what would you endure to save the lives of someone you know, or even the life of yourself, you know? I think 9 minutes is a small price to pay.
Well, thank you for being on the show. Thanks
That
for
was my
sharing your
pleasure.
story.
Thank you.
And hopefully people will donate, volunteer, and spread the word too, because that's important too.
Outstanding.
Mike Gamma, thank you for being on the show. Appreciate it.
It's my pleasure.
That is our show for today. You can see this show and many others on our YouTube sites. I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Till next time, take care.